Welcome back to another depressing episode on the JK Philly channel. Uh, I feel like, well, I don't feel like this is the second time that we had to rush to do another episode talking about the Mavericks. The is up at this point. The Mavericks, I don't know what the NBA's got going on with the Mavs. This is ridiculous. The Mavericks do not deserve this pick. They do not deserve anything after trading away Luca, and I don't know why they're being rewarded with this. Um, let's just give that's somewhat of my initial thoughts. I want to hear, of course, we've been trying to hold off a little bit of like going in depth of our feelings about it, but I want to hear yours from the start.
My thought is I've always leaned towards the side of the NBA draft not being rigged. Now I think I'm starting to lean towards the other side because
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It just 1.8% odds to get this pick,
Mm-hmm.
and you land it months after you make probably arguably the biggest trade in NBA history, the biggest reaction wise when it comes to social media and stuff. Like, this was insane. This reminded me of when KD joined the Warriors. Obviously, he wasn't traded, but just the way social media exploded and almost just could not believe what they were hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And then all these months later, they get rewarded with the number one overall pick that we all know is going to be Cooper Flag. And, this is I don't know. I look at this situation. The same thing happened when the Lakers wanted AD. AD got traded to the Lakers, and then bam, Pelicans immediately got the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It feels a little shady, but
It's
I'm more upset that we didn't get it. Well, we're talking about the Mavericks and how shady that is. I'm just upset we didn't get the pick. I don't care who got it besides us.
I honestly think my true reaction, I'm out, I'm going to work today. I'm like, I'm hyped. I doubt we're gonna get the first pick, but there's always a chance. I'm hyped. It's draft lottery day. If it was literally any of those other teams that got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that got that number one pick, I would not be anywhere near upset as I am right now. Because like I said in the beginning, he just didn't deserve it this year. Like you made the biggest blunder of what we could see down the line. Of course, if Luca is ass for the rest of his career, then maybe, but I highly doubt that. So just the biggest blunder of your franchise, and then you get rewarded with something like this on a 1.8% chance. It's like how can a reasonable fan who's not just like some idiot watching this day to day just not think, all right, there's got to be something going on the back end. There's no shot that happened with all the other teams. Like, I feel so bad because we've done episodes with people now for Jazz fans, for Hornets fans, for Nets fans, Wizards fans, Pelicans. Like, those guys had, of course, injuries of weighing them down, of just like terrible seasons. Like, we were talking to the Jazz guys, and he was like, I'm pretty sure he said that was the worst record that they had in their whole franchise, was only getting what, 15, 16 wins this season. Like, I and they end up with the fifth overall pick. Like, yeah, it's the fifth overall pick, but like five, they were supposed to get one, and it was supposed to not even be a question. So them just, I don't know. It's crazy to me. Cool, we got the third. I feel so bad for it. I don't even want the third pick at this point, because it's just like, y'all should deserve that. Like, we should have got sixth. Y'all should have been a lot higher up. The Mavericks shouldn't even been in the conversation of top 10. But
Yeah.
it's the way the game
Yeah,
is, I
you're right.
guess.
Talking to those other teams, like, you do feel bad for them because, in a way, I wanted to pick being a Sixers fan. Outside looking in, we don't deserve it just as much. I think we deserve it more than the Mavericks, maybe. But you're talking about, we had championship aspirations at the beginning of the season, and now we begging for the number one pick. Like, we didn't deserve it either. But
Yeah. No.
I don't know, man. What a crazy. Can you imagine a world where Nico Harrison drafts Cooper Flag in a couple years? They go on to compete for a chip or win a chip, and Luke just keeps blowing up and getting fatter on the Lakers. My God,
Yeah.
what a 180
Yeah.
that would be.
He has the potential to prove us wrong because it's so early. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But, you can never say
Yeah.
never. But, we're of course recording this the day of getting the news. But I already recorded with the Mavericks team, and we talked about that a lot already. So I'm going back through the edit, and we're just talking about like, hey, what are your draft aspirations this year? Just talking point. And if I remember correctly, he said something about playing against the Memphis Grizzlies, and if they won, we got a certain pick that was like 12, and if they lost, we got like 16 or something like that. So for me to hear that, and then now seeing this, it's like, all right, man, like I'm saying that in the preface of like, I'm putting this in the beginning of the Mavericks video, and we're just gonna let that play out, and you guys are just gonna listen to it from, not really having any aspirations with what AD has got going on in his injury self. And then, of course, Kyrie, who's going to be out for, who knows how long. So now that you're getting a guy in Cooper Flag and pairing him with AD here and there, of course, because of his injury proneness, you got another guy that you can hopefully build off of. And, who knows how ready he's going to be when he comes into the league in terms of, like, how ready everybody else is on that team. But they could definitely be, like, a consistent playing team as long as they stay healthy, or at least I guess like a bottom tier playoff team. But, we'll see what that happens with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs. The Mavericks, how they're constructed now, remind me almost like the Sixers. You're like, if Kyrie's healthy, if AD's healthy, if Cooper Flag, and I think he'll be fine in the NBA. I don't think he'll day one be a superstar. I don't think he's LeBron James. Right. But, there's just a lot of ifs there. I would be shocked, especially now that both of them are older, to see a healthy season from AD and Kyrie.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, championships are won on a lot of those ifs coming together and a perfect storm coming together. And, like, what if KD joins us after we just lost to LeBron in 7 games? Like, damn, we might go on to win the next 2. And then, you win the next 2 and you blow both teams out the water, basically.
Yeah.
Probably would have won 3 if it wasn't for KD's. What was it? His Achilles blowing up.
Would have won 3.
Yeah, and Clay tearing ACL.
There. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm still going to be pissed about that for the entire season until I see Cooper Flag be ass. So I'm going to be mad his whole career, basically.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, though, of course, as I am putting this in front of it, after this little video that we'll talk about, I'm going to upload a side video talking about the Sixers and, us getting the 3rd pick. So now we'll just dive into that a little bit and we'll separate the video.
Wonder, did you make this?
Feeling good, got some weed up in my wood, chasing dreams just like I should, letting go because I could.
Welcome back to another episode of JK Philly. Today we got from the Mavericks, Pod Maverick. How you doing, man?
I'm okay. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Just the same way that I start every episode, just want to, let you go off and explain a little bit about your background, how you started the channel, and, everything that relates to you guys.
Sure. So my name is Kirk Henderson, and I am also editor of a website called MavsMoneyball.com. It is a SB Nation blog. I've been there since about 2012, and in 2016 or 17, my now co-host started recording shows. 2019, 2020, we started recording much more regularly, and we're part of our a podcast network that was affiliated with our website. In 2022, the website basically divested all podcasts, and it went from being their podcast to them saying, here, you can have this. So we decided at that point, all right, we've not been doing anything on video, so let's just go ahead and start a YouTube channel, kind of fit this around my job and my kids and everything else. I would essentially just record live, largely because it was the easiest thing to do. Yeah. And we started doing that 2023, which was right around the time everything went to hell with the Mavericks. They traded for Kyrie Irving, but they didn't have anybody healthy on the roster taller than like 6'8". So they just started they slowly died and then limped into the lottery, where Knicks fans were perpetually angry that Luka Doncic sat for 2 games to keep their pick. And then after that, just kind of, 2024 was obviously a much more fun year with the Mavericks reaching the finals, just slowly inching up. We do like a post-game show with me and my co-host, and then we hang out and talk sports kind of like I call it group therapy, but kind of like like a radio show. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely, love seeing the background of people, because some people are just like me, where, hey, we just talk between, amongst each other, our friends, and why don't we just put this on YouTube? And then there's the
That's
other
right.
side. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to hear. Let's start from the very beginning. Big news coming to the Mavericks. You're getting Klay Thompson over the summer. After his performance in the play-in game from the previous year. How has Klay Thompson really been for you this season?
Klay Thompson was exactly what I had hoped. His expectations were, I think, bigger, but after the injuries that he dealt with, you got an ACL, you got an Achilles tendon, he just doesn't move like he used to.
Yeah.
And as the season wore on, his shooting ended up pretty spectacular for the volume that he was taking. He ended up just shooting the ball really well and being a pretty key for the year, just under 40%, 39% from three on a lot of volume, almost 8 a game, which was exactly the sort of shooting that the Mavericks were missing down the stretch from 2023 to 2024 in the finals against the Celtics.
Right.
So he had a really nice year. I think he's probably pretty disappointed with the way everything turned out. Played 72 games. Can't really ask for more than that for a guy at his age and his injury history. He's a big guy. I enjoyed watching him play because he would have these moments where he'd get like incredibly hot. And that's just fun to watch when teammates start looking for a guy like that. Right. So it was a pretty good season.
Yeah, I was definitely interested to see, how he was going to bounce back for the Mavs, after his disappointing, or I might not say fully disappointing, but a disappointing game that he had as a last Warrior.
Oh my God, yeah, 0 for 10 up in Sacramento with the Warriors. That was pretty brutal. That's an awful way to leave a franchise that you'll go into the Hall of Fame with.
Right, yeah. Hopefully he continues to stay afloat, bounce back, and doesn't just fall off the face of the earth. But it seems like he kind of, like you said, met expectations a little bit for this year. So that's always good to hear. Of course, as we transition, not too much going on. I know, of course, Luka in the beginning was hurt a lot. And, transitioning right into it, because that's the only real thing that popped off in terms of trades before the trade deadline is the trade with Luka. Initial reactions from an actual Mavs fan, of course. You don't even need to be a Mavs fan to, have a heavy heart for that trade unless you're a Lakers fan. What is, like a true Mavericks fan, true reaction to, seeing, of course, Luka going away, but just in reference to the Sixers talking with you as well, of like we get Quentin Grimes and seeing how he's performed in the last stretch of our season as well. But just give me your overall thoughts and perspective from those trades.
I mean, the trade will just remain so confusing. All the reporting around it, at the night of was really shocking, because if you follow kind of the chronological timeline, Tim McMahon of ESPN gets an on the record statement from Nico Harrison about what they're doing, and then immediately pivots to an off the record statement from a Mavericks source. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't do this professionally. I mean, it's a hobby, but front offices aren't that big. He went from on the record Nico Harrison to off the record Nico Harrison. Like it's really obvious. And that was just really, and that was clear the night of the trade. So we're sitting here wondering, like, what in the heck went wrong? Mm-hmm. Because at that point in time, Mavericks fans, probably more than Luka, like psychopathic super fans, Mavericks fans were pretty fed up with Luka's fitness and his ref complaining. So there was a not insignificant portion of Mavs fans, while it's like everybody was obviously really mad that he was traded, were very pissed at him. Because it's like you get to the finals and you come back into the season and you get hurt immediately. Right. Why do you get hurt immediately? Whether or not it's fair, everybody goes back to the same things. It's like, well, you're out of shape. And then that wasn't why he got hurt, but it is a component. And so like that initial reaction that night, everybody was really mad, but also it's like, all right, well, I guess we could see how he got, but it's like as the trade unfolded and as you sit there and learn in the hours of what happened, it became really clear very quickly that Nico Harrison wanted Anthony Davis specifically and didn't really care about other elements of the return. And that's what will go down historically as so bizarre, because I think you can get to the point of, all right, we think Luka's not going to be great for business. We think he's going to age like Sean Kemp. We think he's going to, he doesn't have the get in shape like James Harden thing. Maybe we're going to get out before things start to get goofy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that logic.
Yeah.
I get it. But at that point, you have to go get everything you can. And he didn't. And that's where, that's the part of this that will actually hurt the Mavericks, institutionally.
Mm-hmm.
As much as spiritually hurting the team, the fan base and such with Luka Doncic moving on. So just a really rough start to February is what I'll say.
Yeah. I don't even have words for it because I think we were on the channel as well. We were probably in the middle of recording some random episode about the Sixers that did not matter. We're done. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. We're up until 2 a.m. trying to confirm if this is true. And
this honestly will go down in a cultural move of where were you when you heard about this basketball trade?
100%.
Because it by the end of the weekend, because it happened on a Saturday night and a Sunday morning, by Monday night it had permeated it was there was an Oscar joke related to it. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Just everything in my life, you could not avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of course, the playing games with the Mavs and that being over right now, them going back and forth, I'm sure there's going to be something that you hear of the Lakers getting eliminated first round by the Wolves. But right now it is at a little bit of an ease. Just to see, the true reaction, to see what's going on with the team. In reference, like I was stating earlier, of just getting a guy like Quentin Grimes, too, out of that trade. I didn't even know who Quentin Grimes was this year until he came to our team. I didn't know he'd be performing like that and be able to step up in those moments to really be everybody's hurt on our team, so he's got to be our guy right now, which is kind of crazy to say, but that was very interesting.
Well, the Grimes one is kind of fun because you can look at it from two different angles. If you look at it without any context of the Luka Doncic trade, the Mavericks were right up. They're a couple million from the salary apron next year, which if they go over that, it makes any sort of moves impossible. So Quentin Grimes was probably not going to be extended by the Mavericks anyways. So that in a nutshell, when you're just looking at it, trading him, even though I didn't particularly care for the return, and sending out an addition Philly's own second round pick, which I think is 37 this year, that was maddening. That drove me crazy.
Yeah.
But to get a guy back that has a pretty decent cost controlled contract, it's $8 million, $8 million a year for the next 4 years, 3 years after this now. I see the vision just in that one move, because the Mavericks could have used another defender if Luka's still on the team more than another scorer.
Right.
But then you have the Luka thing on top of it, and it's where do they think offense is coming from? Mm-hmm. At this point, Kyrie Irving had a really good year. I still think it's really insane to expect him and Anthony Davis, who are top tier second superstars on a team, pairing 2 second superstars together. One of them has to carry the load, and neither guy really is able to been able to do that on winning teams.
Right.
Getting rid of Grimes and then having Kyrie as almost the sole guard who can score off the dribble other than friggin' Spencer Dinwiddie seemed crazy to me from the start. I mean, I guess I get it from the salary angle.
Yeah, that is the whole situation. I was just talking with the Suns yesterday as well. I explained the same way of just it sounds like a mess, and in no type of disrespect. I don't know what this team is going to do in terms of, now even with the injury on Kyrie, now what? So that kind of leads me into my next question. Do you truly believe in AD in terms of, coming off of injury and then, whenever Kyrie Irving is going to be healthy again, when Kyrie and AD are healthy and they have, their other supporting cast around them, do you think this team is going to make a lot of noise in the West, or do you think they really are going to need a lot of help?
On paper, the vision makes some sense if you can get to the playoffs with your team in reasonable shape. Mm-hmm. That's a big gamble.
Yeah.
Kyrie, really amazing. I've enjoyed the Kyrie Irving experience way more than I thought I would have. I mean, I'm a big NBA fan, watched a lot of international basketball, loved watching Kyrie when he played for Team USA, really grew to appreciate him when he was a younger player. But then, honestly, after the Celtics chicanery, I didn't pay him much attention. And then all of a sudden, he's 31 years old.
Right.
So watching him, it's like, oh, crap. We traded for Kyrie Irving. This guy's just, he can't get out of his own way. He's always got something to say. It's not basketball. I'm just like, God dang it. Then the experience ended up being probably one of my like 4 to 5 favorite Mavericks to watch in my entire life. Like, he's really special.
Right.
Anthony Davis, completely different deal. I appreciate how hard he plays. Anthony Davis is actually kind of a glutton for punishment. He really wants to prove himself. The problem, it boils down to the simple fact is he's just not that guy. He is a skilled offensive player. He is not particularly strong. He wants to play like late stage Dirk and LaMarcus Aldridge on offense. He's just not a good enough shooter for that. He's just not. Like, the bubble when he shot 40% from 3 is an outlier. It's been 5 years. He shot 20% from 3 this year.
Right.
My child can shoot better than 20% from 3. That's hard.
Yeah.
If you get to a playoff series with those guys, you have to say, I think there's a chance. But and you well know this from your years as a Sixers fan, the season is too damn long to be looking that far ahead.
Right.
This whole project, I fear, was doomed from the inception because it relies too much on hope. I get that Luka has some injury issues and has some weight issues, but at the end of the day, the dude shows up when it matters the most. Did you happen to watch the Luka return to Dallas where they played the like AD didn't do anything.
What, he had 13 points or something like that?
Yeah, 13 points and 4 in the first half. And Luka had 31.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there going, oh no, this isn't going to happen. But I wish the Mavericks would fire Nico Harrison, move Anthony Davis somewhere where he can do well. If he wants to play 4, trade him the flipping San Antonio Spurs. I don't understand what's going on here because this vision, it you know, and maybe you're going to ask about this, so I apologize if I'm getting ahead of myself. I earnestly think Nico Harrison thought he was going to trade for Kevin Durant this offseason and put together like a 3-star team like that with like a Phoenix redo. I could at least see that. I hate it, but I could see it.
Right.
It's one of the like starkest sports like self-imposed things I could ever. It's wild.
Yeah, it is definitely a huge part in history for NBA history of, you know, just what has gone down and how everything transpired up until this point. There's definitely some things that need to be done, of course. Who knows if, you know, trades like that are going to happen, or what the Mavericks have planned and what they have up their sleeve, if they're really going to plan on running that back again and seeing what can happen. But I'm glad that, you know, not a fan of the team and then you are a fan of the team, that we kind of have the similar thought process behind it.
That's what's kind of odd about this particular sports moment is and of course there's people on Twitter. This trade has been widely regarded as just so confusing. Yeah. And for either the trade itself, trading for Luka, or if you can get yourself to trading Luka the return. And I'm fully convinced we'll never see anything this weird in our like sports lives again.
No, I definitely hear you. That is one of the craziest points that we'll definitely always have to keep in our thought process. I don't know, obviously, of like where the standings are at in terms of the draft coming up, but just wanted to know if you do have a pick, if you do have some type of area that you guys are going to land in, what is a guy that you might be looking at, or a guy that you think, you know, overall would fit best for your team that you might not have a grasp on as well?
So the Mavericks losing that play-in game to Memphis, if they would have won, they'd be picking 16th. Oh, wow. Because they lost, they went into a coin flip situation with the Chicago Bulls for 11-12. They won the coin flip, so they pick 11th. 5 spots for one loss is a big deal.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And I was like secretly kind of excited about that because I like the draft. The guard free agent market is bleak, and Dallas needs guards.
Yeah.
So I hope that they don't do anything insane with the trade, though I think they will, or with the pick. Oklahoma guard Jeremiah Fears is my current Wish, just because I think he would be very fun to cover for a year. He turned 18 in December, so he's a young guy, and like young players are just maddening to cover. I want to cover like enjoy real like weird basketball stuff, complaining about a young guard.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun to me. There's some guys who might be there, but I think Fears would be the one that they might be the most interested in, and that's sort of where I'm settling on.
Do you have any other thoughts in terms of like free agent market or like trades of people that are on expiring contracts that are in your mind as well?
The one to watch for has to be, for me, there's two guys for the Mavericks. Daniel Gafford is coming up on the last year of a contract. He's going to want something new.
Yeah.
The Mavericks just can't commit that much. They also have he'll be third-year center Derek Lively. They'll have a rookie extension for him coming up soon. So I don't think they can afford to keep Gafford around. So I think they either move him in the offseason for guard help or they move him by the trade deadline. PJ Washington is also someone else to kind of keep an eye out for. He's another guy that's kind of right in that sweet spot of age. He took several steps forward and several steps back this year. He's a fascinating player.
Yeah.
Can't shoot, then all of a sudden can shoot like 50%. Can't dribble, then all of a sudden looks like Luka when he's handling the ball. You know, the guard market is like I mentioned, a little bit bleak. Like I sort of wonder if the Mavericks go try to sign Chris Paul or something. Right now, I'm because Kyrie is hurt. I'm arguing like Dallas just doesn't have a centerpiece. They don't have anything. Even if you do count AD, which I don't.
I definitely agree with that point as well. Like as I'm thinking about it, I can't really think of a lot of guards off the top of my head. Like even you saying Chris Paul, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you could do that situation. I'm also thinking of like, you obviously don't want to do Bradley Beal, nor do I think you could do Bradley Beal right now in terms of like the contract that he has is just ridiculous. I was just talking to the Suns guy about that the other day. That's really all the questions that I have. I definitely appreciate your time and, giving us a little bit of insight about your perspective of the Mavericks and everything that you got going on with the team. As we wrap up, is there anything, like, of course, your channel or anything else that you want to promote?
If you want to read some fun writing, Mavs Moneyball, we put out 3 to 4 things a day. We've had some very angry anti-Nico Harrison posts that are kind of entertaining to read. Pod Maverick, I go. If you're ever interested, I do these sorts of shows. We have folks that pop in from other teams. I always like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Talk to you guys. Thank you guys for watching another episode of JK Philly. Make sure you stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.